For the past 2 weeks, I've been working on my game for 15 hours a day. I gave up my social life to work on a roguelike auto-battler where each unit has their own inventory. I never realized how rewarding it feels to face a massive obstacle that seems impossible to overcome and then absolutely crushing it. This is how I made my dream game in 100 days. Picking back up from where I left off, my game only had one enemy type, so let's add another to add more variation. I've decided to add a faster and more bloodthirsty enemy. We'll call them swarmers for now. They hunt the lowest max health target and split upon dying. I wanted to give swarmers their own unique identity, so I made them orange. Alright, let's see these swarmers in action. To reward the player from killing so many units, they get chests equal to the number of swarmers they killed. They're kinda overpowered for now, so I'll have to nerf them later. Unfortunately, the swarmer babies are vacuum packed inside the womb because these babies get launched. So I've added clamping around the edge of the arena, which means nothing should cross the borders from now on. With all that sorted, I was ready to add more items to my game. But the system was very janky. I spent the whole night figuring out how to add complex item shapes to an already broken system. I just couldn't figure out a solution that remained consistent across all shapes, but then it hit me. I decided the whole thing needs to be rebuilt from the ground up, and I knew exactly what I needed. I gave each matrix tile a number from 1 to 16, and each item shape has a datasheet that maps out which of these 16 tiles should be occupied. For example, this is a line from my bow datasheet. What this tells us is that when my bow is in rotation 5 and dropped on tile 13, tiles 12 and 7 should also be occupied. In this system, the green preview tiles are generated by taking the nearest origin slot to the player cursor. I was really proud of myself for coming up with this solution, and I was convinced this was the best way to do it. And I think I'm going back to bed. But I'll assume this is happening because my system is made for triangular matrices, not hexagonal ones. In order to prevent the player from losing and uninstalling the game, I've added the first functional room, the resting room. This is a strategic move to give the player a sense of empowerment. I think we're ready. It's time for phase 2. Just like me in high school, my game was lacking some personality, so I wanted to find a cool font to use, and after looking enough, I found something perfect. I paired the font with a free image I found, and the menu was starting to feel alive. This is all temporary, of course, until I find an actual artist to commission. Now that we're improving the visuals of the game, it's time I admit it. I was disgusted by our previous character select, so I single-handedly forged the best character select to exist in modern gaming. I was looking for small ways to improve game fluidity, so I added an animation whenever a coin is clicked. Before I make the biggest and final visual update, I noticed the damage number feels a bit flat, but I instantly knew how to fix this. You see, 12-year-old Aria used to love a game called MapleStory, and this game nails the damage number system. I used to play this game so much I didn't even need to think about how the system worked. It was embedded in my DNA. The solution is simple but works so well. This is how damage numbers appear in my current system. We'll call these damage lines, and this a damage column. MapleStory handles hundreds of damage lines each second by adding a decay timer to know when a new damage column should spawn, or if the number should be added on top of an existing column. New columns also shift to the left or right by small amounts to make sure two columns never overlap. By taking these two rules, we now have ourselves a pretty good damage number system. We've come so far. A week ago I was struggling to create basic shapes and most of my code just didn't work. I got catfished by Godot's cute face and doubted my engine choice multiple times. I even considered rewriting everything in Unity, just because there's more online support and tutorials. That's when I realized the only tutorial necessary was the one you need on how to hit that subscribe button, because 400% of you watching this video aren't subscribed. How is that even possible? Anyways, back to the video. It's time for the biggest visual revamp. You might be wondering, what is my game even gonna be about? What's the story? Who are the characters? The answer to all those questions? Yes. My game is set on a pristine castle on a floating island. I wasn't sure how to create this in a 3D environment. I was always terrible at art. I tried to put a scene together with as many free assets as possible. After depicting my vision perfectly, a friend showed me a great way to get stars to appear in the sky. I added a sphere mesh and applied an image of stars on the internal face. In-game, this is looking like a massive improvement, indistinguishable from most AAA titles. Who am I kidding? This looks like a mess, which is why I'm looking for an artist. If you want to join me on this magical journey, don't hesitate to reach out, and together we'll build something beautiful. Imagine having so much money that you can't fathom how to spend it. That sums up how my red pill feels right now, cause he's unable to spend his 13 schmeckles. That's why I added a shop that sells a catalogue of equipment suitable for a warrior. I'll add a selling feature later to let the player get rid of their unwanted items. After playtesting the game with my inner circle, they pointed out something interesting. Units can have millions of different global positions. Why not force units to occupy a single tile at a time? A reason I subconsciously neglected this possibility is that I hate conforming to expectations. I guess I wanted to make something unique and less like other auto battlers out there, but different doesn't always mean good. I hadn't taken into consideration all the bugs I could potentially run into and all the features that would be a nightmare to implement. I decided it must be done. But during the same night as I squirmed in my sleeping chambers, I realized another issue. If I go down the route of having a tile-based movement system, it would be inefficient to use square tiles. A board with square tiles restricts movement to 4 directions, whereas a hexagonal grid allows more freedom for units. I came to the conclusion, game studios know what they're doing. There's a reason almost all grid-based games use hexagons, so I became a sheep and got back to work. I polished the scene a bit and made units selectable to show their base stats. This brings me on to my first intricate item design. I added a staff that lets the player select the form it should take. Once a form is selected, it gives you an extra unit to place down. Right now, the red form gives you an attack turret, the green form gives you a healing ward, and the blue form gives you a damage sponge. Tell me in the comments if you have any interesting ideas for items, and if I like them enough, I'll add them to the game. To be or not to be? Roguelike or not roguelike? These questions had me thinking, can I even call my game a roguelike? Nothing is being procedurally generated. I have a long string of numbers showing in the corner, but right now that's just for show. Unit positions and room paths aren't actually using the seed. So, after wiring up the seed to my code, it works. This project is starting to feel like something special. If you want to play this game once it's finished, please like the video as it helps me greatly to make more content like this. Without rules, there'd be chaos. So I set some for my run manager to follow. The run map should always have a restroom on the 5th and 15th floor, and on 2 random floors, mini bosses should be inevitable. Let's generate a map using these rules and see what it looks like. My map has 3 lanes. Right now, lane 1 can connect to lane 3 and vice versa. Behind the scenes, that's not an issue. But when you try to represent that visually, you come across an abundance of crossing lines. A quick solution I implemented was that I added 5 lanes instead of 3, and lanes can only make connections to other adjacent lanes. I hear birds outside and I haven't had any sleep yet, so I think we need a break. If you made it this far into the video, I appreciate you. Making a game has made me realize, where there's a problem, there's a solution. And where there's a solution, there's a problem. I've been Arya. Good night.